Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about the future of Starfox. If you've been paying attention to Starfox happenings as of late, you're probably aware that there's a new Starfox game that came out last month, Starfox for Nintendo Switch 2, a remake of Star Fox 64 with some new elements. And I've already shared my thoughts on the game in various videos already. It's a wonderful game, I cherish it, I adore it, I'll be playing it for years to come. But now having played through this game, experienced what it has to offer, I do think it offers some pretty good perspective on what's to come in the future, especially considering some recent leaks about the future of Starfox. Yes, this Starfox title was leaked, and everything we heard about it has been confirmed, but also we've heard about other things regarding the future of Starfox, including a whole other new title that seemingly is a part of a massive leak that is continually proving more and more accurate. And then there's also some stuff we've heard about a Starfox movie. And when you pull all this information together and consider what it may all mean, I think it gives us a pretty good understanding of the future of Starfox, even beyond these apparently leaked projects. So what's going on exactly? What is in store for the Starfox franchise? That's what we're diving into and analyzing today. Before getting into it, all I'm going to point out is that I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, and we're getting so close. I'm hoping to hit this goal soon. So if you find yourself enjoying my videos and you have not subscribed already, I would very much appreciate your subscription. So let's go over all these Starfox happenings, and then we'll talk about the implications for the rest of the series, which I think are actually really exciting. So firstly, earlier in this year, Nintendo was marketing for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And there was one commercial that came out for the Mario Galaxy movie where we saw a couple frames of another character that seemed to be a part of the main cast that would be adventuring throughout the movie. And myself and a few others looked at this character that was cropped out that you can only see a small piece of, and analyzing it through and considering what we understand of Nintendo, the only realistic conclusion, in my mind, was that it had to be Fox and Cloud from the Star Fox series, which at the time many people thought was crazy, baloney, delusional. But the fact of the matter is, when looking at it, objectively, that's the only character it made sense to be. And what did it end up being? Literally that character, Fox and Cloud, from Star Fox in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And so that was confirmed about a week or so before the movie came out. And we saw Fox and Cloud in the Mario Galaxy movie. They summarized the Star Fox franchise in the movie as well. It was certainly a great way to raise awareness of what Star Fox is, which I believed was another example of Nintendo's big cross-promotional strategy where they use the movies, the Universal Parks, and different things regarding their series to build up more momentum and awareness for their series, ultimately culminating in new games surrounding all of this, and vice versa. Those games then become very popular, and more people are into those series, and so they go and interact with the parks more, the merchandising, the movies more, and that's just more attention on Nintendo, more money, more publicity, all that good stuff, and it just kind of continues to cycle through and make them bigger and bigger. Nintendo's been doing this for years already. We've talked about how it's worked with Donkey Kong, Pikmin, Mario. Now we're seeing it with Zelda, and we've seen it with Star Fox. And so there was a belief that because of this presence of Fox and Cloud in the Mario Galaxy movie, they would be working on a big game. Kind of like how we saw Donkey Kong in the first Mario movie, and then we got Donkey Kong Bonanza. But shortly after this, we heard from a few different insiders that there was going to be a Star Fox title coming out really soon, in this month of June, and they would be in the classic style. This was teased by Nash Weedle, and then immediately afterwards, a podcast from Nate the Hate, who's considered to be one of the most reliable insiders there are. Here, he talked about various things that will be coming out throughout the year, one of the biggest ones being Star Fox. And so as many of you know, that was all confirmed. Star Fox was in the June Direct. Ocarina of Time Remake was also confirmed as well. That was also said by both Nate the Hate and Nash Weedle, among other things as well. But this Star Fox thing was confirmed. However, if you haven't heard about it, I have a whole other video detailing this entirely a couple days ago. There was a couple different comments online that came from perhaps the same person by the name of Michelle, and they actually said all the things that Nate the Hate reported about and others corroborated that have since been confirmed, not just with the Nintendo Direct, but even some other things as well, having to do with the Metroid Ravenous leak, which was leaked by the Brazilian government, by the way. We've talked about that too. But this information included things that were not leaked by Nate the Hate and others, such as specifically it being a new Switch Sports title. Nate the Hate had talked about how we'd be getting something Switch Sports related, maybe a new title, maybe a Switch 2 edition. There wasn't clarity there. This leak from this commenter by the name of Michel clarified it would be a new Switch Sports title. And also, that the Ocarina of Time remake would not be based on the 3DS version. Most people assumed that, but there wasn't total clarity on that. And then everything else, such as 3D Mario coming out in 2027, that's been corroborated by others, technically not confirmed. But the classic Star Fox, the Ocarina of Time remake itself, Dustblood's not coming out earlier than this year, Mario Kart World DLC not being quite ready yet, Mercury Steam working on Metroid 6, which hasn't been 100% confirmed, but it seems extremely likely now based off the Metroid Ravenous leak. A lot of these things have been supported, but there's a little bit more about Wario, about Metroid, and about Star Fox, and that's what we're focusing on here. It was said there would be a new classic Star Fox title coming out in June. This is very similar wording to what Nate the Hate said, a classic Star Fox. But also was said there would be an adventure Star Fox. And so this is interesting for several reasons. One, it's suggesting there's another Star Fox title in the works, which alone is already an exciting thing. But it becomes increasingly more interesting when you consider that in all the Star Fox leaks, none of them told us that Star Fox for Switch 2 would be based off Star Fox 64. And so with that in mind, this adventure Star Fox might be another Star Fox remake, but this time of Star Fox Adventures. And this becomes even more interesting because when we go back to the Star Fox Nintendo Direct, Nintendo highlighted the history of Star Fox, but they didn't highlight every single game. But one game they did pick that many fans found quite curious was that they highlighted Star Fox Adventures, paying a little bit more extra attention to this game. So I am left thinking that this next Star Fox title might be a remake of Star Fox Adventures and not necessarily a brand new title, which some people may find upsetting. But I actually think there could be a huge opportunity here. So firstly, Star Fox Adventures follows up the story immediately after Star Fox 64, and considering what we got with Star Fox for Switch 2, which is the same story as Star Fox 64, it's a remake of that game with some extra elements, including a lot of new story stuff. This new story stuff, this story that's being told here with his new voice cast, really sets things up for a new future where they could carry that same style, that same visual style, those same voice actors into Star Fox Adventures and retell that story. Now, the thing about Star Fox Adventures is that I do think it would need to be changed around. I don't think a one-to-one remake would work as well for Star Fox Adventures. Now, some people may be skeptical of this idea because we saw that Nintendo, at least with the main campaign, recreated Star Fox 64 one-to-one just with modern visuals. But I would like to stress that Star Fox for Switch 2 is not just a one-to-one remake because they did include a lot of new story stuff, new voice acting, a challenge mode, and a brand new multiplayer mode, along with the augmented reality stuff. There's a lot of new things in there. And so if they were to remake Star Fox Adventures, this is a single-player game. I wouldn't necessarily be expecting them to add multiplayer, or even a challenge mode. Perhaps the effort that went into creating that kind of new content could be used into fixing up the experience that is Star Fox Adventures. Now, to be clear, Star Fox Adventures is a good game, but it doesn't really include that much classic Star Fox gameplay, and I do think if Nintendo's big idea here is to bring back the Star Fox series and have some consistency, there needs to be some consistency between the latest Star Fox and what would be the Star Fox Adventures remake. And so I think it could be as simple as redesigning some elements of the game where you're including more R-Wing moments. I'm not saying you take away from the adventure part, but you just include more R-Wing elements in there, and also with some quality of life updates and some adjustments to the flow of the actual adventure, they could make Star Fox Adventures an even better game, but also have more fitting gameplay that matches up to the rest of the Star Fox series. And if this is indeed what they do, then something else becomes really interesting here. Because that then positions Nintendo and whoever they have involved making Star Fox. Perhaps Valin Studios will continue to work on the Star Fox titles after this latest Star Fox, including the Star Fox Adventures. And with future Star Fox titles, they can also incorporate some of the adventure elements into the classic Star Fox gameplay. So what would that mean? Well, I'm mostly referring to the idea of there being a bit more exploration involved. On-foot segments. You see, Star Fox for Switch 2 is a budget title, $60 physical retail, not $70 or $80. And this adventure title, if it is a remake, as I'm speculating here, I imagine it would be treated very similarly. But eventually, if Nintendo's going to go through these lengths, you would think there will be a new Star Fox title that would perhaps warrant a bigger price tag, and also be a fuller, bigger title, which would come with the implication of more ambition, which may also mean that we're going to get that classic style Star Fox gameplay, but infused with a little bit more elements, like some on-foot segments, which may sound very similar to Star Fox Assault, actually. Which, by the way, I wouldn't mind if they were to follow up Star Fox Adventures with a reimagined or remade Star Fox Assault. But if I'm on the money here with this adventure title that has supposedly been leaked being actually a remake for Star Fox Adventures here, I do think Nintendo would be setting things up here, setting up an expectation that they're going to be seeing more adventurous Star Fox gameplay infused to typical Star Fox. But we're not done here. According to Daniel RPK, who is known for movie leaks, who has gotten some things right, I'm not going to say everything right, so still take it with a grain of salt, but they are saying that Nintendo is now actively developing a Star Fox film to be produced by Illumination, which really shouldn't be shocking in the slightest, because we saw that Fox McCloud was in the Mario Galaxy movie in a very big way, and considering that Donkey Kong had a similar role in the prior Mario movie, and we pretty much already know a Donkey Kong movie is slated to come out relatively soon, Nintendo's planning another movie. We know that Nintendo and Illumination are planning another movie in 2028. And we also know Nintendo has officially filed for a Donkey Kong motion picture. You connect the dots and it seems pretty obvious that we're going to be getting a Donkey Kong movie probably in 2028. That's what most people are figuring here, because we know some sort of Nintendo Illumination movie is coming out then. Point being, though, that if this is what is happening for Donkey Kong, which seems really likely given what I just said, Nintendo's probably going to do something very similar with Star Fox. As I've mentioned earlier, you look at how Nintendo handles their cross-promotional strategies, it actually makes some things fairly predictable when it comes to Nintendo. And so what I'm getting at here is that Nintendo is going to continue to push the envelope with Star Fox titles, building up the brand. There will be a Star Fox movie, a fully featured focused Star Fox movie a few years down the road, likely after 2028, so don't expect this to be announced soon. But it looks like that's where the setup is here, and how I envision things. If I'm right about this Star Fox Adventure title being a remake, also considering that it's been leaked and all these leaks are for things to come soon, this other Star Fox wouldn't be that far off, possibly as early as next year. I think it's a little unlikely, but perhaps 2028. And by the time we would be getting a Star Fox movie, perhaps 2030, then Nintendo has the brand new Star Fox ready, or that next one that comes out close to the movie, and then you have all these other Star Fox games to play. And so what we'll be looking at here is a series of amazing, wonderful, remade, reimagined, perhaps even new Star Fox titles, all on Nintendo Switch 2, with an awesome Star Fox movie sometime in the latter half of Switch 2's life. That's the future I'm seeing here when considering Nintendo's cross-promotional strategies and what we've heard from these leaks that have gotten a lot of corroboration and a lot of which already confirmed. And it just makes sense, which would mean that this is going to be a golden age, a golden era for Fox McCloud and friends in the Star Fox series. But what do you all think? Am I onto something here? Or would this adventure title be something else, like a brand new Star Fox that is just a little bit more adventurous? And how might that relate to a movie and the rest of the series' future? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care.